Hi, welcome to another episode of Fit and Free with me. I'm Angel. You can call me Aunty Angel if you want to. Today I'm going to be talking about cat-cow poses. It's actually two yoga poses that are very often done together because they are very nice counterbalance to each other. They go very nicely together, and doing a series on beginner yoga poses, and I just finished doing a couple on static poses. This is the first that I'm going to be covering that is a more active pose. Now, it can be done in a more static fashion. You don't have to do the two together in flow the way I'm going to be demonstrating together, but they are often used together in that way because they're kind of a perfect match made in heaven, so to speak. As I said, the poses are commonly called cat and cow, two different poses, but often it's the motion together is called cat-cow, and they're often combined with the tabletop pose, a static pose, which I have another video about you might be able to find here. And I'm gonna try to say the Sanskrit words, but forgive me as I will probably butcher them a little bit. Marjariasana, I believe that's cat, and Bitolasana. Bitolasana, cow. Cat, it's, asana is just pose. Bear with me, I'm just figuring this out real time, even though I did go over it earlier. My brain has a hard time with the Sanskrit, but it's one of the things that I must learn for my yoga certification. So I am continuing to work on it. Marjariasana, I believe, is the cat pose. And I'm going to read through. I have 6 tips for cat and 8 tips for cow. And I'm going to read through them, and then I'm going to demonstrate and talk through them as I try to demonstrate them at the same time. So Marjariasana, tip number 1 is to arch your back as you pull in the sternum towards the sky. I can't not demonstrate a little bit. So it's a very, like a cat, arched cat. And broadening the shoulders, broaden the space between the shoulders is number 2. Number 3 is the chin is tucked toward the chest. Your gaze is toward your belly button or your navel. Number 4 is your arms are rotated internally. Your inner elbows are facing each other. That's a tip that I don't always get. So it's, let me think about it. Yeah. Rather than this way, it's this way, so that the inside of the elbows are facing each other. Like, think of yourself as a cat. Again, that's a little asterisk, a part of the pose that I have not always gotten right. Number 5, rounded back. So you're really tucking the tailbone toward the chin and tucking the chin toward the navel, really trying to get as round as you can through the back. And number 6 is long spine. You're pressing with your hands, activating through your fingers, and really trying to make your spine as wide and long as possible. Really all the energy is going toward pulling up in the front and spreading wide in the back. And then conversely, so let me just demonstrate real quick all of that so we don't get lost on where that is, and then we'll move on to cow. So again, usually you start from tabletop, which is a more flat back position, kind of neutral, and then cat position is rounding the spine up. You're pushing up through the palms, spreading the shoulders wide, tucking the tailbone, tucking the chin, gazing toward the navel, really pulling in the front and pushing out and up in the back. That's cat. And then cow is the opposite. I'll just demonstrate before I talk about it. And I sometimes let my belly sag, but actually it's supposed to stay activated according to the directions I just read. And again, it's a square position. So hands are under shoulders, knees are under hips. And then from the tabletop position, it's kind of a sway back like a cow. And I like to think of tipping the tailbone toward the back of the head, but actually in the directions I read, it has other tips, which I will read to you. Number 1 is to lift the chin slightly, gazing the eyes. Gaze is just above eye level, so not crunching the head back, but just keeping the head above, or the eyes just slightly above eye level. I can't read and take these off at the same time. Number 2 is to reach the crown upwards. So again, that's the crown of your head, is this part. And not necessarily crunching it back, but lifting the gaze and lifting the head upwards, like you were a cow, right? Lifting the head upwards. Shoulder blades come squeezing together. So the head is lifted and the shoulders, that's I think another part that I haven't focused enough on that I'm going to focus on the next time I demonstrate it here. And number 4, the tailbone lifts towards the sky. So again, not so much crunching towards each other to sway the back, but a lifting of the back and the front, while actually keeping the navel engaged. Number 5 is the hips over the knees. Number 6 is the feet and the feet and the knees are hip width apart. So again, you're making those 90-degree angles with the legs and the lower body. Number 7 is the tops of the feet press into the earth. I think that's another little aspect that I have not been doing or staying mindful of. And number 8 is that the core is engaged. The navel is to the spine. And this is definitely one that I have been doing, not doing properly by the book. So let's walk through that one a little bit before we put the two together. So cow pose from tabletop. Again, hands are under shoulders and elbows are towards each other. Feet are pressing a little bit into the ground. Knees are under hips. And I'm just going to lift the tailbone and the eyes and the top of the head. So it's not so much just to exaggerate that, it's not a dipping or a swaying so much as in fact, it's not that at all. It's staying from the tabletop. It's lifting more up in the eyes and the top of the head and pushing again in those arms. And here's the part where I was having trouble, is I don't know how to bring those shoulders together without swaying in the back. But I think that's something I will be working on, and I encourage you to play with all these tips yourself. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you find challenging, or if you have any tips to share. When I squeeze those shoulder blades together, it makes it very tempting to sway that low back even more. So I'm going to make sure I'm focused on pulling the belly button or the navel in toward the spine or the core, pulling that tailbone up, lifting in the top of the head. That's actually a lot different than how I've been doing it. Now let's put the two together. So from tabletop, coming forward, and we have cat. So we're going to tuck in, and often this is done with the breath in, again, more of a flow, but I'm going to talk through a little bit slow, pushing, making the spine long, tucking in the tailbone and the chin, relaxing the toes, and then coming through tabletop, and then into cow, pressing those toes, squeezing the shoulder blades, lifting up in the tailbone and the top of the head. I think there's usually an exhale for the cat. Let's do that again. Curling up, pushing, and then inhaling, squeezing shoulder blades together. I still don't have a good feel for that, but I'll keep working on it. I don't have a good feel for it yet, I meant to say. Pressing through the feet, through the palms, lifting in the tailbone and the head, squeezing those shoulder blades together. That's a lot. Let's come back to tabletop and then relax. I gotta relax these arms where I tend to hold a lot of tension. I invite you to do that with me. Let's stretch out these hands a little bit. Just give those wrists a little loosening up. Can make some circles one way then the other. To start with 1 and then go to 3. It's me. Shake those out. I'm going to bring each arm across the body for a nice stretch because that feels good. Don't forget to breathe and smile, whatever else you're doing. Let's give that a nice counter stretch. I thank you for stopping by today, and I thank you for taking care of yourself, taking the time, stopping in your busy day to take some time to love yourself, give yourself a little loving attention, little stretching, little strengthening. Goes a long way. Remember that fitness is freedom, and that you're worthy of your own unconditional love. So again, thanks for being you. Thanks for letting me be me. Stay free.